Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Career Chat. I'm Krista Harmon, a workforce development consultant with the Kent Intermediate School District, and I am so happy to have Shirley Monte today with us. She is a key account manager, and even for me, that's a title I had to research a little bit. So I'm so glad to have you, Shirley. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So we will definitely get into what a key account manager is and learn about that, but I'd love to take you back to when you were 16, 17 years old. When you're in high school, did you think you'd grow up to be a key account manager, Shirley? Tell us what you were thinking.
Never in a million years. As a 16-year-old kid, I was working on my aunt and uncle's dairy farm in the summertime as whatever they wanted us to do, including milking cows at 4:30 in the morning and babysitting and trying to keep myself busy and not really thinking about much of anything other than being 16 years old. So
yeah, just enjoying that season of life.
Yeah.
And how was school for you? Did you enjoy school, or was that as well?
I liked school from the perspective that that I was in the marching band and had a bunch of friends, and school was somewhat challenging, but it was definitely something I was looking forward to moving past. It was not my favorite thing.
Right. So as you approached the end of high school, what kind of decisions were you thinking? You go to college? You think you'd want a hands-on training? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I was a little bit fortunate in that I had a lot of experience working on a family member's farm in the summer and in our hobby farm at home. And my dad was an engineer. So I had a lot of exposure to manufacturing people. And I knew for me, going to college was what I wanted to do, because I wasn't interested in the physical work of working on the shop floor or on a dairy farm, for instance. I was much more interested in communication and reading and writing and talking to people and getting their opinions. And so for me, college was the path to understand how to communicate and how to document and research and that type of thing. So I knew right from the start I would go to college and get a 4-year degree.
And did you get your degree in communications then, or what degree did you decide on?
Yeah, I have an industrial marketing degree. My bachelor's is from Ferris State, and they had a marketing program that focused a little bit on doing industrial marketing, working for companies that were making things that went into other things, as opposed to marketing Coca-Cola or Campbell's Soup or something like that. And I liked the intricacy of working on something that goes into something else. And so that's why I chose that particular program.
I find that fascinating, Shirley. How did you even know what it was? I mean, did someone clue you into that particular? Because for a lot of young people, that wouldn't mean anything to them. Yeah,
I also got lucky in that I had a lot of access to my father's coworkers and had done some summer work in his offices and that kind of thing. And knew Ferris was a very good school that integrated anyone who from people who wanted to be plastics engineers to auto mechanics, and then tied in optometry and those kind of functional jobs to the marketing programs that they had and the business and industrial relations type programs that they had. So I knew that it was out there. I didn't have to look very hard, but I was a little lucky in that I had those kind of contacts that kind of led me in those directions.
So just an encouragement to young people, that's why we're doing career chats. You just got some information. It's so important to have mentors or adults to talk to, and that's why we do these. So thank you, Shirley, for just reinforcing the value of these kind of conversations. So when you were part of college, did you have internships? Was that part of your experience? And how did you even find one if you did?
Yeah, I had a little bit of a unique experience, and then I did my degree in 3 years instead of 4 or 5. So I was very heavily focused on getting 18 credits a term. And then also I was able to do in between programs, between semesters and that kind of thing, I was able to work in some factories and earn good money while I was doing it. Come back to Grand Rapids, where I live now, and work in factories that I had connections in and get that kind of hands-on experience that I knew I was going to need, but didn't want to do forever. And so I did it in fits and starts. And then I was also in the business sorority. So I started building my connections, and I was in the marketing association for the college so that I was further able to build connections there. And just always been encouraged to take leadership roles in those kind of organizations. Because even if you're not very good at something and it's the first time you're trying it, those are the kind of places that there's someone there to help you learn and understand how to be the marketing representative for your college association. There's someone there to talk you through that. And those connections are really where, when college was done for me, and I know that's probably one of your questions coming up, is my first job out of college, I applied to several jobs and then took one and moved away for a while. But every job since then, those connections that I had throughout my life and through college, and then people I met in my work industry, I never again had to apply for a job. I always have had someone come to me and say, would you like this to try to get this job? Or would you please apply to this job? Or would you take this job? And I graduated from college in 1985, and it's now 2023, and I've never had to apply for a job. I've always had someone come to me, whether it was a recruiter or someone I know, and ask me to apply for something.
And we're going to definitely dig into the why of that. I want to come back to that. I would like to, just for young people to know that as you graduate, and you did apply to several jobs, that moving away was probably pretty significant for you. Tell us why you decided to move away.
Well, I have a long-standing history of both sides of my family being here in West Michigan. And I just very strongly felt that I needed something different. And when I left, to be honest, because Big Rapids is only an hour from Grand Rapids, so my world was pretty small. I had traveled a lot as a kid on vacations, visits, and my dad's work trips. And I knew that I needed to leave Grand Rapids to really find myself. And frankly, had no intention of ever coming back. You know, I was 21 years old and I'm like, I'm out of here. And then 5 years later, ended up coming back to Michigan for an opportunity, because then once I'd gone out, found myself, had some success, had some failures that some people knew about, but some people didn't need to know about. All of those things where you're learning who you are. In that 5 years of being gone, I was then able to come home and really make a good career for myself.
That's fantastic. And there's actually an organization in town called Hello West Michigan. And they're actually, that's the goal, is to recruit some of those young people back. But it's so great to explore and have that time to yourself. Good for you. And so young people just know that that's normal. You're a young person who wants to get out and explore. I guess I'd like to focus on, you graduated in 1985. You've never had to apply for a job again. Why do you think, what have you been demonstrating over those years, Shirley, that young people should know that how this works? What kind of work ethic? Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, there is nothing better than curiosity and expressing that. Every single time I was offered an opportunity to try something new at my current role or a future role, I took advantage of it. Whether it was when I came back to Michigan, I went into sales for a gasket fabricator. And I did that for 10 years. And during that time, if it would get very busy in the plant, I would volunteer to work nights and weekends and work in the plant, and knew how to run all the equipment myself. And then the owner of that company came and asked me if I would switch over to materials management, which is purchasing and warehouse management and that type of thing. And I knew the organization so well, I was able to successfully transition into that. And during those times, every customer, every coworker, every industry organization person that I met, came in contact with, would link to them through LinkedIn, through any organization at all, so that I had a network by the time I came back to Michigan, and it's grown ever since, of over 500 people that knew who I was. And I made sure that if there was a volunteer opportunity or an opportunity to learn something new in the industry, I did it, because that's what got the attention of everybody as I went forward. I would try something new. And once you have that knowledge, it doesn't matter what that knowledge is, it will translate into something else. That surprising, the career pivots that you make, those small connections of people or of knowledge, really give you the opportunity that you need. But curiosity does it. If you're not curious, you're not going to want to try. You're not going to put all your effort in. And that's really what gets people's attention. At least my opinion. It worked for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's not always more education, getting a master's degree, getting a PhD. That's not how careers are often built. It's moving up a ladder, moving because someone invited you to work for their company. So It's perfect. I did want to point out to the young people watching this about Shirley had mentioned in her college days, business sorority and some other organizations that she took leadership roles. And she also just mentioned business industry associations. But that is like, I'm the president of the Michigan Career Development Association right now. So I have all these people that I'm meeting who have very similar passions. So be sure to step into that. That's something you're gonna have to take the initiative on. No one's gonna say, do this, do that to develop this. You have to seek those things out. So pay attention to those kind of organizations, because it sounds like for you, Shirley, they've just been such an advantage in your career.
Yeah, and even for extroverts like me, sometimes it's scary, but
Thank
you
you.
still have to, you just have to put your foot in the door and do it.
Yeah, why don't you speak to some of the introverts right now? How does that really work? What do you say to yourself? What do you have to go to a networking luncheon, for example?
Yeah, it's just like you go, I'm here and it's not going to be comfortable, but remember that no one else in the room is probably overly comfortable either the first time they walk in. Be pleasant, be polite, be curious, force yourself to ask somebody else where they're from, who they work for, and it will get easier. I have some coworkers and colleagues and friends who have, PhDs in polymer science and very introverted people, but they go to the meetings and they'll find someone like me that they know that they can sit next to and be comfortable with. So just go. It's not even comfortable for people like me who are natural extroverts.
Yeah, it's part of that. You gotta make yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you had your initial degree in that industrial marketing. You went into sales and you kind of did some things, you ended up in purchasing. So tell us again, a little bit more of that path and how you got into this key account manager role.
Sure. So I started out in sales. Frankly, that's where the jobs were at the time. And it was very tied to marketing. And then I moved into materials management, which is purchasing. Then one of my vendors who I bought a lot of product from came and said, you seem to know a lot about adhesives and films and foams and that kind of thing. We need a business development manager for performance films for our organization. Would you like to come to work for us? And of course, I thought, what a great opportunity. They were in Massachusetts. They put a home office in my house for me, so I didn't have to move to Massachusetts. So that's how I then made that pivot. And so that was a business development role. And business development role at this organization was research the market, get information from customers, get information from other individuals. They're the ones that paid for my master's degree in, it's a Master of Science in Administration, which unlike an MBA doesn't focus on finance. It's actually more of a psychology degree, and it teaches executive leadership and communication skills and intercultural communications and those kinds of things. So you can talk to a wide variety of people. And I did that for 10 years. And then another organization came to me and said, we've heard about you in the industry. We would like to know if you would like to pivot into food plastics and doing market development for us, setting up new product lines, doing the research and the pricing and all of those kinds of things that we need to know to develop new films for food. And so I went to work for a company called Klockner Pentaplast, which made rigid forming web. So when you buy a cheese package, for instance, because I'm in the dairy industry now, the solid tray that the cheese lays in, that's rigid forming web. It gets made out of rigid forming web. So I did that for a few years, and that was a market development position, very similar to business development, less sales, more research. And then I got a call from an adhesive company, because I have a background with a lot of adhesives in the films. They all have adhesives in them, that said, we would like someone in sales for strategic account managers. We need a strategic account manager. And then a strategic account manager calls on several very large global customers in this particular case. And I sold the adhesive resin that made candy bar packages stick together. That's called Cold Seal. And I sold reseal and laminating adhesives and that type of thing into food packaging. A lot of it went into dairy for the customer that I now, and then one of our customers came and asked me to go to work for them as a key account manager, as part of a team calling on one very large account that packages cheese. So very circuitous, none of them directly related to each other, but all of them from one stage to the next having something in common.
Yes, that's the thing for young people to hear this, because sometimes we assume that our career paths are linear, and they're not. You don't know what you don't know, and there's so many experiences we have along the way that will lead to the next thing. I love your story, Shirley. And the thing about, I mean, you just gave us how many different job titles: business development manager, marketing development, which is more research, the strategic key manager, now this key account manager. All that this led because you were performing and the word got out about you. It's so fantastic. Did you get to travel with any of these jobs? I know young people like to know about that, with these global companies.
Yes. So when I went to work for FlexCon in Massachusetts, I did a lot of travel in North America, all over the United States, from California to the East Coast. And I flew there for 1 week every single month. So I spent a week a month in Massachusetts at the corporate headquarters and internal meetings every month for 10 years. So that was, and then I did I was gone about 26 weeks a year from home. So often Sunday to Friday. So it was a lot of travel. Then when I went to work for Klockner, that was a global market development position. So I traveled around the United States and in Canada, and then also throughout Europe. So I did some of those travels, primarily to Barcelona, Spain, and then Munich, Germany. So those were where I was primarily. Then when I came to work for Bostic, which was the strategic account manager position I held, I pivoted back to North American travel, but as part of a global team. So we had customer that was fully global, had someone on every continent. And so I was part of a team. I was the North American strategic account manager. Then there would be a European strategic account manager, an Australasia strategic account manager, and a South America. And we worked together as a team globally to support some of these very large customers. Now, as a key account manager, I am I solely take care of one customer who is exclusively in the United States. And so now my travel is back to just in the United States. So, which is fine with me, because a global travel is a young person's game.
Yeah, there's seasons for things, and that's the thing. As young people, as you listen to this, that there are seasons for things. And as a young person, if that's something you're aspiring to, these are the kind of companies and the kind of roles where you really do get to travel. And if some of you didn't catch it, company paid for her master's degree. So again, this is a way to get additional education on the dime of your employer. So tell us about what a typical day is as a key account manager now, and maybe show us some of those products that you were going to talk about.
Sure. So as a key account manager, I have one customer, and I operate as part of there are four key account managers that take care of this one customer. It's that large. And we also have 5 customer service people that work full time taking care of this customer. We have 2 marketing managers that help take care of this customer. We have an entire team of graphic designers that make the packaging. So when you look at, for instance, this cheese that you see at Family Fair and the party tray, we make the tray, we make the film that goes into making the tray. That's made at the customer. Then they put the cheese in it. Then they put this real reseal lidding on it. So we make the lid and print that. We make the material for the tray, and they put the cheese in it on equipment that is specifically designed for cheese packaging. And so all of that goes into every single different type of cheese. Here's an HEB one that's a chunk cheese. And then this is a sliced cheese with a zipper on it. That all gets filled at our customer. So all of the pieces and parts are over 5,000 SKUs we produce just for this customer. They have 8 factories. And
a young person might be wondering what a SKU is.
Oh, a SKU is it's an individual item. So this film that, for instance, Meyer brand smoked provolone, this one package that says smoked provolone on it is one SKU. This HEB chunk is one SKU. Yeah.
Wow. And you have 5,000 SKUs.
Over 5,000 of those.
Wow.
And every one of those packages has to be put together by a product development engineer and a material scientist. And the film has to be manufactured. And then someone in graphic arts has to make that design for the customer to their specification. Someone in one of the printing plants has to put the ink on and put it in giant rolls that then go to the customer. So there are almost 20 people that work just taking care of this one customer. Our film is made in what we call blown extrusion, which is a giant, so easiest way to describe it is chew on some gum, blow a bubble. That's film extrusion. Giant bubble goes up in the air. And this film in particular is 11 layers thick. Different barriers based on the type of cheese. Some cheeses have to breathe, some can't breathe. So we have scientists on staff that develop these layers of film, manufacturing people and quality people that produce that, logistics people that transfer it to another plant, because our company has 54,000 employees globally, huge company. Then the printing people have to work on it. So there's graphic designers, operators for that. Then it goes to the customer. And we have an entire staff. We have 7 technical service engineers around the country that specifically spend all of their time in the customer's factory, helping them make sure their machines are operating properly. So a lot of these people come, they're electricians that don't want to be independent contractors anymore. So they'll come to work for somebody like us. And I spend all day talking with my colleagues and with the customer, making sure that all of these pieces and parts are operating in sync so that the package, the roll of film shows up at the customer's dock, goes out to the machine, cheese goes in it, goes into a refrigerated warehouse, gets stored, someone in quality makes sure that it's sealed properly, and then it goes off to Family Fare, Meijer, Great Value, which is Walmart, any of those store brands that you see. Very likely that the film that we sell to Great Lakes Cheese is what, that's our film and our trays that cheese is inside of.
Who's blown away about how many jobs it takes to give us our cheese, and that it has to be a safe product, right? So all those scientists behind the scenes too. What is one of the biggest myths then about this kind of career? Because so many people think about manufacturing a certain way, or they just don't see these jobs. What would you want parents to know if a child's like, I want to go into industrial marketing?
Yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I tell people is, one, there is never an hour that is the same as the previous hour. Things change all the time. You're working on new projects all the time. There's not much repetitiveness in the big picture of it. You're learning something new all the time. So even if you want to go into manufacturing on the floor, there's tons of different kinds of jobs you can pivot to over time. In that, if you're someone who really likes the sciences, manufacturing also has a lot of places for that, because someone with a polymer science PhD has to develop the resin that goes into that 11 layers of film. And that's what they do. So you can dive deep into something, or you can do a lot of broad things like marketing, where you're talking to a lot of different people and you're basically telling the story of that manufacturing process. It's kind of like, I always tell people, I live in a constant episode of how it's made, because I'm seeing things on the factory floor. I'm out wearing a hard hat and steel-toed shoes one day. I'm in my office making sure orders are doing what they need to be doing in our process. The next day, I'm taking a polymer scientist out to see something somewhere. There's never a time where I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again.
I find food manufacturing quite fascinating, and I do enjoy those TV shows too. Now, obviously, you've shared about how your particular career path was through networking and winding. If a young person was like, you know what, this industry sounds really fascinating to me, your type of job now, would they start with a marketing and sales degree? It obviously depends what part they want to do, because what would you recommend as next steps, I guess?
There's a lot of ways to get in this industry. If you really very much like hands-on, there's a lot of apprenticeships through like Grand Rapids Community College and that, where they can help you understand, do you want to be an electrician and work in a factory at some point? Do you want to operate machines or repair machines? Then there's also the packaging industry itself, which is what we're directly involved in. You can actually go get a packaging engineering degree from Michigan State University, #1 packaging engineering school in the United States, right here an hour away from us. They can help you. Do you like the polymer scientist part of it? Do you like the paper part of it? I mean, they get that granular. Do you like the graphic arts part of it? Do you want to work for a cheese company? Or do you want to work for a film producer? They will help you walk through all of those different kinds of things. So I would say the best place to start is find out who you know and who your parents know, and try as many different things as you can while you're in high school, and talk to the Grand Rapids Community College people and the regular college people and see what it is that might interest you. The biggest thing is you can have an engineering degree and end up going into sales. You can have a sales degree and end up going into graphic arts or manufacturing. You don't have to, what you decide to do for your education post high school, whether it's hands-on or in the college environment, doesn't have to be what you do for the rest of your life. It can be what you do from year to year. Every 3 or 4 years, I've taken what I've known and pivoted it into something different.
That's like goal. I put that on a bumper sticker. So many young people are so anxious about what they're deciding right out of high school that they're stuck with it the rest of their lives. So I just love that about our career chat today, Shirley, that you're helping them understand that it's so malleable and it's all about the networking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if the company Amcor, I know you obviously are working from your home. How is it being from home, and do they do job shadows? I guess my question. How would students maybe get in to be able to see this environment?
Yeah, we do a lot of Amcor North America. Amcor Flexibles North America is headquartered in Oshkosh and Neenah, Wisconsin. They do summer internships. They do for college and high school level. We don't have any plants here in Grand Rapids, so to speak, but you can get involved in, especially at the college level, they hire a lot of interns. They actually encourage employees like me. I have a home office. My personal opinion, totally personal opinion, is that you should do something somewhere before you try to do a home office, because it's very distracting. It's hard to know who to call when you need help with something. You can't just walk down a hall. So you need, I would say, 4 or 5 years in an office or manufacturing setting to really know enough about yourself and your role to be able to do a home office. But we do a lot of job shadowing. They actually encourage us to do, we're expected to do this kind of thing at least 3-4 days a year. So
yeah, I wanted to share a resource you shared with me before we started today, and I just put it in the chat, that the Wisconsin Cheesemakers Association, and again, how many of you knew there's an association for cheesemakers? They have put together a wide variety of videos of the various occupations it takes for their industry. And so if you Google that, you'll be able to hit their education link and tap into those resources. So again, expiration, if you have school counselors on this career chat today, use those resources for your students. You know, have a lunch and learn, have everybody bring their cold lunch or their pizza and watch these things together to just help expand their minds. We have about a minute and a half left, Shirley. It went so fast. I've learned so much today. What would you like to say as a final word of wisdom to young people who are thinking about their futures, maybe a little nervous of those decisions?
Yeah, just my opinion is try everything. Ask anyone you know if there's anything you can do to shadow them, to get a summer job, to get a part-time experience. Join all the clubs that have any, try them. If you don't like it, if it's not for you, that's okay. You don't have to do it all for the rest of your life. Same with a job, but try every new opportunity you can, and just develop your curiosity skills. Because when you're looking, if I'm interviewing someone young in their career, one of the things we would do as a trick is set something on a table that's industry related. And we would kind of pick the kids that couldn't help but reach out and touch it. They wanted to know more about it. They wanted to pick it up. They wanted to look at it. They wanted to ask questions about it. Those were the kids that we knew were going to want to learn some more. And so whatever it is that interests you, just go for it. It doesn't mean you're stuck with it for the rest of your life.
You've been a great role model today, Shirley. Thank you so much for making time to be with us today.
Thank you.